Okay, so last transformation is called a dilation. So like when you go to the eye doctor, they dilate your eyes, which means they either make it bigger or sometimes it would become smaller. So when we're talking about dilations, it can be an enlargement or it can be a reduction. It's an enlargement if your scale factor is bigger than 1. So in this case right here, this is an example of an enlargement because my length of this side is doubling. It went from 2 to 4. The other one would be a reduction. So here was my original shape, and then here was the length of the side, which was 8. I times it by a fourth, so I reduced it by a fourth, and it became 2. Now the other piece is knowing the center. So whenever you're reducing, sometimes your center is right in the middle, so that means that your shape will stay centered there, and so that your other shape may grow around it. Or on this one, your center was over here in one of the vertices, so that vertex would stay there, and so it may share some sides and that vertex. So what we're going to do first is find the scale factor. So in your first picture here, it's telling you that you have a dilation, wanting you to find n, which is the scale factor, and it's telling you that it's centered around x, so it shares this vertex. So then it says that, is it an enlargement or a reduction? Well, if I'm going to decide that, here's my original, and I know that by the way it's labeled. Here is the one that they did a dilation to since it has all the primes. Is it getting bigger or smaller? Well, obviously it's getting bigger, so I know that it's an enlargement. So my answer is either A or B. Now I need to find the scale factor. So to find the scale factor, you want to do one of the lengths of the sides of the enlargement over the original. So it's new over old. Well, here is my new side. Now be careful because this is kind of tricky when they line up on the same sides. My new side is actually 12, not 8, because you're going to add the 2. So my new side is 12, my old side is 4, so that means my scale factor is 3. So my answer would be B. See if you can do the guided question. So in the guided question, the original is the dark colored one. The new one is the lighter one with the primes. So since it got smaller, it would be a reduction. Then I had to find the scale factor. So I do the new over the old. So to find that, you would want to use one of the sides you could count easily, because remember, if it's slanted, you would technically need to use the distance formula to count it. So from K prime to L prime, that would be 2. From K to L, that'd be 4. So the new over the old, 2 over 4, would mean my scale factor is a half. Now it's always kind of confusing for some students because they think of reduction, so I'm dividing. But keep in mind that a scale factor, you're always going to be timesing by it. So if you're reducing, it should be a number that's always smaller than 1. So try and remind yourself of that piece. Okay, so on the next is we're going to actually do all of it together, use the scale factor to actually do a dilation. So here's an example where they took a triangle and they want you to dilate it by 2. So that's what all of this notation is telling you to do. So to do that, I just wrote out originally what all of the original coordinates were, and then I'm just going to take all of those coordinates and take them times 2. So I wrote it out long way, but I'm pretty sure you could handle doing that in your head. So my new P prime would be at 4, negative 2. My new G prime would be at 0, negative 4. And my Z prime would be at negative 4, 2. So again, this is my scale factor. I just took all of my original coordinates and just times it by that scale factor. Pause the video and see if you can do the guided question. So in the guided question, it's asking you what are the coordinates of the vertices when you dilate that triangle by a half. So that's what all that notation is telling you to do. So again, I took all of these original coordinates and I just took them all times a half. So P prime should be 1, negative 1/2. G prime should be 0, negative 1. and then z prime would be negative 1, 1/2. Okay, that's it for dilations. It's just you are either enlarging, so the scale factor is bigger than 1, or you're reducing, so the scale factor is less than 1. Remember, you're always timesing by a scale factor.